Yes, sir. What's the deal, y'all? Welcome back, man. No moral victories. We back in the building. Like, comment, subscribe right now. You dig? Today, we're talking about the NBA rule. 65 game minimums you need to play to be, for the awards, the postseason awards and things as such, And I remember Tyrese Halliburton said that rule was stupid. But I haven't even seen this video, so before we get started, I'm gonna say I do like that rule. Come to work and play, man. But I am a little I don't know because like in the case of Joel Embiid, if he gets hurt, whatever tears ACL or something, then I don't think that should be too impactful on the awards. But let's get into it, man.
Let's go there.
Indeed.
Let's
No,
go
we should
there.
go to the 65 games.
Oh yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I like when the guest brings up a topic.
Okay.
So my question actually around this, because you have commented on this and you said it was a bullshit rule. I'm sure there's been some backlash from different people about that. But my question about this was the general mindset about your first injury, the first hamstring injury, right? Because I'd talked to you about it, right? And I was like, bro, I've had a ton of hamstring injuries, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't like giving you advice or anything. I was just kind of providing context.
Yeah.
But did you feel like a sense of urgency to come back sooner than maybe?
Yeah, no question.
You did.
Yeah, what? And then
Did you feel the need to come back earlier than you did? See? Okay, rule. This is what y'all doing. This is the rule. He wants his money and awards, so this is what he has to do. Play possibly through getting more injured, man.
from like our medical staff, or
No,
like
for
that.
sure.
But like from
Like a $53 million incentive.
yeah, what? Like even I'm trying to think of the games that I've missed before that. In Boston, I got hurt right before I went to Boston. I couldn't play. Got like a Charlie horse, and if it would have been one extra day, we had a back to back. If it wouldn't have been a back to back, I would have played. And then I got like the flu in Miami and couldn't play the next day. Like I was throwing up. So those are the 3 games I missed. And then once the minute I got hurt, I think like you could see like I got carried off. Like I was really emotional because in that moment I was just thinking like, damn, it's over. You know what I mean? Like season's probably over. I went to take a step with my leg and my leg didn't really lift up. Like it didn't really move. So I think in that moment, like any player, like you just kind of panic. But after that, it was just like kind of, and then the MRI was like good results. Like our medical staff was like, these are the best results we could possibly get. Like
Was it grade 2?
it was
Grade 1?
grade 1.
It was grade 1.
Grade 1.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, how can I get back as fast as possible? What's the right way? And then kind of after we traded for Pascal, and I knew he was going to play in that Portland game, and that was kind of the game that we were eyeing. Like it was either that game or I don't remember who we played after that, but it was like that Portland game was where our eyes were on. And as soon as the trade for Pascal went through, I was kind of like, damn, not only is it the game I'm eyeing, that's the game I'm playing. Like if Pascal's coming, I want to be a part of the first game. Like, and the medical staff agreed. Like I felt good enough.
Is there
And then after
buts
that, like, I
coming?
played a certain amount of minutes, and towards the end of the game, I could feel my leg hurting. Like there was a play where Aaron went to flip the ball to me, and I was going the other way, and it went back court. And when I bent to pick up the ball, I was like, "Oh, this is not good." That night, I like remember getting in the car going back to the hotel, and I like had to sit down and pick my leg up to put it in the car. Like I couldn't really lift it, and so I was like,
All right, him right. Tyrese, he don't really sound like he's playing because of the rule. He sounds like he's playing because he want to play with his new teammate Pascal Siakam, and as well that he just wanted to play. It doesn't really sound like it's because of the 65 game rule that you must play.
"Oh, this is not good." And then that's when like I think a lot of frustration boiled over because it was like I thought I was ready to go for the Portland game, and so did our medical staff. Everybody agreed, but I don't think if this was never the case, I might have been like
Another week.
yeah, maybe give it another game or 2.
Get your own doctors, y'all. Hey, professional athletes, man, that second opinion from outside the team doctors is very important, man, because them team doctors are working with the team, bruh. Shout out to my people going through this, man. I know a couple people.
Let me think more through this. Like
Believe
let's try to
that.
be 100%. And even now with this whole, I've had a minutes restriction now for the last 2 weeks, and It's
What's
been-
your is it 25?
it's changed. I mean, it started at 20,
Yeah.
and then it's ramped up, and it's been fucking terrible. Like I
Yeah.
hated it. You know, like I came back for the Boston game, and they were beating us pretty bad first half. We're like a third quarter team. We got the game right back in the third, and I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, you know, and that was very frustrating. The New York game, same thing. We had the lead, and I got pulled right as we were kind of running away in the third quarter. And they come back and win. And then we tried to play the Kings game, and they were like, we're not going to play you in the first quarter.
Advanced
I even came off the bench. It's my rookie year. Like, the flow of it was just weird. And so I think I've just been frustrated by it completely. But I understand where the league is coming from.
sounds like
Listen,
this
at
has
the end of the day,
nothing
I'm
to
a
do with
fan
the
of
rule.
basketball like everybody is. We want the best players to play.
Speak on the rule, man, because it don't sound like you speaking on it. You just talking about you was really injured, bro. Speak on the rule that we talking about, bro.
Realistically, like we talked about earlier, there's only a couple of us that this is going to hurt, that this could hurt financially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There we go.
Well,
Speak on it.
I guess there's
taking so long?
2 parts there. So, number one, I think we can all agree the intent was good.
For sure.
And there's naturally, like I say this every time the NBA makes a new rule change about anything or new policy or whatever, is like every time there's a new salary cap thing, I'm like, love the intent. There's going to be unintended consequences.
Sure.
With the new second apron. There's like, I'm not smart enough to figure out what the unintended consequences are going to be 3 years from now, but there will be some.
For sure.
Whether that's like a team trading a high draft pick because they want to keep their core together. You know what I mean? So they're not up against the second apron. And then like 3 years later, that draft pick becomes the number 1 pick and it's a generational talent. And 20 years from now, we're like, oh, that's fucking team. But it's like the intent of the rule was for parity, right? So I don't know that there's like
They're not talking about
a
shit
solution
right now
for getting guys to play. And I also I think the best question I have around this entire topic is if a team is willing to pay a player $260 million, if the Indiana Pacers are willing to pay you this amount of money, if the Minnesota Timberwolves are willing to pay the max
Get out of their
for Anthony
pockets, man.
Edwards, do we need this like 1 year, this 1 year of like he's got to make all NBA?
Yeah.
Happened to Tatum too, right?
That deal.
That's the part that I don't like. If you want to incentivize contracts to performance, I'm okay with that. But putting it all on 1 year doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you had signed a contract and it was like during the course of this contract, if you make all NBA, or even if you made it twice, you have 6 years to do it, right?
Yeah.
Then you get the Supermax. I think that's a better route, right? Because you're going to be pressured into playing too soon with this games thing. You're going to, in some ways, I think guys, you're not, I don't think you're in this situation, but some guys are going to put more pressure on themselves and maybe play differently.
Yeah.
So I think that's the unintended consequence beyond just like trying to play.
Let's get into the
just
details,
rule
bro.
itself around the Supermax for this rookie extension. I don't personally like.
Yeah, and like you said, at the end of the day, you think these organizations don't want to pay us this money? Like, I understand for the salary cap reasons, but you don't think that the Minnesota Timberwolves want to show we made the right pick at number 1? He's a Supermax player.
Yeah.
Or Charlotte Hornets, we made the right pick, LaMelo's Supermax, or the Pacers trading for me, or whatever the case may be. Like,
right, the Pacers gave up an All-NBA player to get you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest thing. But like you said, I mean, the intent is correct, and I think people misconstrued my words to say, act like I don't care about fans. Like, we don't need to play. Like, no, I want to play 82 games if I can. But
Of course.
I mean, that's just not how the cookie crumbles right now.
Do you feel like this is an issue that for guys around the league who this maybe doesn't directly affect this year that they're actively paying attention to?
Well, again, I mean, I don't want to say, like, I think that you also understand like how I feel in the NBA, and I'm not like here to, I'm not saying anything bad about the PA. Like, the PA is amazing, but I do think us as players, really, you're not really necessarily thinking about everybody. You know what I mean? You're thinking about how does it relate to you and like kind of your peers. You know, I think kind of with that, with like this year with the draft combine, everybody has to submit their physicals now with this new rule. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that would have screwed me if I had to submit all my physicals. I was coming off a broken wrist. I didn't give my physicals to Cleveland. I didn't give my physicals to Atlanta. Like, I didn't give my physicals to teams that I didn't want to go to. where like I understand why a GM would want everybody's physical because I don't care. Like for me, it was like you're gonna draft me, you don't even know if my wrist heals correctly. You don't know what my wrist looks like. So then that's a risk that you're taking. And I understand why the NBA would be pushing for that, but that's kind of something for me that as and I could have been a lot more involved with um, the negotiations for the new CBA, and like I'm just not that involved in the PA. And don't Harrison.
Why not?
Harrison would scream at me. He screams at me all the time about it.
But you're not.
That I'm not. Yeah. And
You seem like you'd be a good fit for it.
I think so. You think so?
Yeah.
I think I would be, but I'm just
maybe like as one of the 9 vice presidents.
Yeah.
There's so many vice presidents.
But that's just so, like you said, like I think sometimes as players, we might think more about ourselves than we do, you know, about the players coming in, or you know what I mean. Like it only affects this rule right here that we're talking about with 65 games. It affects obviously guys like Joel with MVP, but financially, really only 3 or 4 guys a year.
This is not a pushback on that, but I think
I'm looking that point right there.
It affects obviously guys like Joel with
said
MVP,
it affects
but
Joel
financially, really only 3 or 4 guys a year.
This is
that right there. Those 3 or 4 guys, man. Let's protect those 3 or 4 guys if we can, man.
This is not a pushback on that, but I think I'm looking at it because we know CJ, and I think he's a well-reasoned, very thoughtful, very intelligent person. And it felt like, and I'm curious if you felt this last year, it felt like last year, the load management conversation really just hit a fever pitch. Yeah. And when you're actively doing something that is turning off your fans and making them angry, I don't think you really have a choice.
Yeah.
Like if you are the product,
I don't think they're getting angry,
the
man.
league, the game.
I've seen a lot of low managements out here. Ain't nobody getting angry, man. That Staples Center is still full. The Spurs arena is still full. It's full, sold out arenas out here, man. Except for them weak ass teams.
That's the product, right? And the consumer is saying, "I really hate this part of your product." You have to listen to your consumer, so you have to actively try to correct whatever is wrong with your product.
For sure, 100%. And like you said earlier,
but can you correct the product at the expense of the product? That's the part I don't understand. How are you gonna help the consumer with the product, but you're not helping the product? NBA players, come on. I know, of course, NBA fans want their players to play every game. Oh, I flew all the way out from India to watch Kawhi Leonard play. Duh, of course everybody wants to play, man. But if I can't play, I can't play, bro. I'm not going to prolong this injury because somebody flew out from China or India or whatever to watch me play. I got to make sure I'm straight first before the fans could I want to give the best product. Ain't that what it's all about? Fans giving the best product?
Down to...
Which is why I'm saying I don't like the rule.
Yeah.
That like, first of all, let's acknowledge this. The rule, from my understanding, was basically put into place because of Derrick Rose, right? Where he won an MVP. It's the Derrick Rose. Yeah, right.
Rule.
He won an MVP in his 3rd year, right? He should have been paid more on par with his peers.
Yeah,
right.
That's a whole different. Now they're talking about something different from the 65 game rule. That's different.
The rarity of that, of a guy, I'm sure, I know it's happened a handful of times. It happens. I'm not saying that. There's a lot of fucking good players that are good by their 3rd or 4th year.
A lot of fucking good players.
The rarity of it is still, it's a minuscule amount of guys. I would think if a team says, you're our guy, we want to pay you the Supermax, we're going to invest in you, and if you make the All-NBA or whatever incentive they want to attach to it, over the course of this contract, while you're in our uniform, you get the Supermax.
Yeah.
Now, if you say, we're going to sign you to this $260 million deal, and you have 5 years to make All-NBA, and 2 years into it, you request a trade, well, that negates any chance to get the Supermax, right? There's got to be some give and take on both sides. I just fundamentally don't like this, that it's just based on 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's your 4th year in the NBA, and it's now at the point where it's not $8 to $10 million over 4 years. It's $50 some million
We
over
went
5
Are
years.
completely
there
off
any
track
comps like this? I'm just
with
trying
this
to think in
conversation,
general
man.
in sports. You bring a thing that is just obviously you getting hurt's completely out of your control versus
Yeah.
requesting a trade or doing any sort of other thing that we miss games because of the technicals or whatever it is. Like this is, it just feels like a first in an interesting way.
I agree with that. And the other part of this, and this is just coming from my seat now, which is I vote on this stuff.
Yeah.
So do 99 other people. We're all smart enough to like make these choices ourselves.
Yeah.
We are. If like last year, no one played in enough games. The MVPs played 63, 64, and 66 games. Okay. So you're not going to give an advantage to anybody. So I've talked to some people who are like, I did a 50 game cutoff for all NBA. I did a 58. Last year was a little bit of an anomaly. Like literally nobody played games. There was like one guy, and I think it was Jokic that played. No, it wasn't Jokic. I'm sorry. It was one guy, I'm trying to think who it was, that played over 70 games that I voted for all NBA. Julius Randle. The only guy. So
is he an all NBA player though? You see the mistake that we're making? Is he an all NBA player? No. That's the mistake we're making. You giving him credit because he played 70 games while somebody else might have played 64 games. Come on, bro. That's not making no sense. Come on. I mean, I do like the rule. You got to play 65 games. But, I mean, come on now.
to me,
Julius Randle better
you're taking
than the
some
best
of
power
like
forward?
the power out of the people that are voting on this.
Yeah.
And another unintended consequence, and I guarantee this will happen, is that some guy will make all NBA, probably in the front court, that because of games played, you're like, that guy got a 13 all NBA. Interesting. Interesting. And this motherfucker played in 62 and he had an unbelievable season. This guy played in 68 and you're like, interesting.
Right.
That is very interesting, man. The rule, man, it's pretty conflicting, man, because if it's something uncontrollable happens, I feel like if you get the text, the suspensions and all that, that should count. But if you have a season, kind of like Joel with like an injury where you're out 6 weeks, then I mean you should still be in that running for all NBA teams, MVPs, all these awards. But I don't know how the NBA is gonna do this, man, because players are, all this technology. LeBron's still out here playing. He gonna cover that award. He gonna get there. He gonna make sure he play his necessary games. And he's 39 years old, man. But when you can't control what you can't control, man. Getting injured, things like that. Yeah. But then now it comes the NBA's gonna be like, well, how injured are you? You're not injured that bad. You could play. So it's gonna turn into a he say she say, man. And then you're gonna have players go out and, like Tyrese Halliburton said, play through their injuries, prolong it. Instead of sitting out 2 weeks, they're gonna play games here, games there, lesser minutes, and that's gonna probably put their numbers down. And that's probably gonna hurt their team because they can't go 100%. They're probably gonna start losing or lose. So if you can't go 100%, I would say, do what you got to do. Make that smart business decision, man. Like they were saying, these are $50 million decisions that they had to make. So, NBA, this is tough, man. I like the rule, but I do understand both sides of it, man. Injuries, you can't really control them all the time. So, let me know what y'all think, man, about this 65. Do y'all like this 65 game rule right now? Let me know what y'all think.